Our film begins with a psychiatrist who specializes in schizophrenia. Her name is Carolina, and she describes one of the cases she brings to the officer. She was able to reveal to them his truth, that he had caused many crimes and he was convinced that he was not the one who did that. She proved to them that he is the one who convinces himself of this and that he lives in the second personality. She goes out and is nervous because she brought the criminal to death. The next day, she talks to her daughter to check on her and tells her that she will return from traveling today and leave her daughter with her brothers while she works. At the airport, she talks to her father, who is also a psychiatrist, and he asks her to help him with his condition. He assures her not to travel before she meets him, and he ends the conversation with her immediately. She is forced to travel to meet him and he tells her that this case is unusual and that he is different from any patient she has ever met before, and his name is David. She enters to see the patient and he enters to her in a wheelchair, and she begins to ask him some questions and do some psychological tests for him. She asks him how long have you been in a wheelchair, and he tells her that it has been a few years since he was injured in an accident, and that he loves climbing the mountain very much, and Caroline does not feel anything strange, as her father told her. She goes out and tells him that he is like any sick person, so her father calls David and tells him, "Can I talk to Adam?" He tells him, "I am sitting alone and Adam is not here." Suddenly, he has convulsions and turns into a second personality named Adam. Caroline is shocked by what she saw and tells her father that she has seen many cases, but has never met a case like this. So she entered him a second time and found him in a completely different personality, not the calm person he had been a while ago. He was very confident in himself, so she asked him the same questions again, and his reaction was completely different. He told her that her husband had died, and she said yes, in a theft accident. He was trying to provoke her, and she responded calmly. Then she noticed that he was colorblind. While she was leaving him, she noticed that he got up and stood on his feet naturally, because he was still Adam. When she came back, she asked her father, "Why did you make me meet David first, when you know that Adam is the real person?" He took her to meet her daughter, then gave her a box containing a file belonging to Adam, and asked her to watch it. At night, she opened the video and saw him having convulsions before transforming into the second personality. She was amazed at what was happening to him. The next day, she goes to Dr. Charlie, her father's friend, and she loves him very much. He also considers her like his daughter, and she notices that he is tired and exhausted. But he reassures her that he is taking treatment, so she asks him why he sent Adam's case to her father, so he tells her that the police found him lying on the road and he was drunk. He told the police that his name was David, and when he went to examine him, he stood naturally on his feet and said that his name was Adam, and that he did not know when or how he came to the hospital, so I sent him to your father. He asks her about her daughter, and she tells him that she loves football and that she is training on Friday. She asked him to come with them, and he agreed and assured her that he would go with them. Before she leaves, she asks him to send her Adam's file. When she met the doctor, she asked her whether Adam could experience temporary paralysis during convulsions. The doctor asked her to look at the X-ray. She told her that the third, fourth, and fifth vertebrae were fused, but this X-ray was different from the previous one. Her father enters and says that it is the first time he has encountered such a case, so she says that he is sure that he is mentally ill and they are trying to deceive him. When her father left, Adam frightened her and told her that he wanted to thank her for helping him. Caroline goes to the library and calls Charlie. His health has deteriorated. He talks to her while he is very tired and tells her that he will send Adam's file. When he hangs up, we see that the mark that was on his neck has extended to his back. There is a person with him in the room, but we do not know what he looks like. The next day, Caroline goes to David's place and tries to reach anyone she asks about David until she sees an old woman, and when she asked her about him, she told her yes, he is my son and he died in 1982. He actually had an accident and was unable to walk, and after that he felt sad for himself for 3 years. Until he decided to travel to a doctor in the city to treat him, but unfortunately the treatment did not produce results, and then he became depressed and left the house, and a week later they found him murdered in the forest. It was clear that there was someone who deliberately lured him into the forest, and it was known from his file that he was performing rituals on an enchanted mountain. At night, she meets her father and tells him that when David was killed, Adam was 6 years old at the time. He escaped from the orphanage when he was 6 years old, so he may have seen David being killed in the forest. The next day, she had David's mother meet Adam and asked her for help. When Adam entered, she asked him, "Do you know her?" and he said no. She told him that she had a son who died 25 years ago. Adam said that he had never heard of him before and that he was 6 years old at the time. The doctor calls her father and Caroline asks him to answer, and when the doctor responds, he asks him to talk to David, and suddenly he has convulsions and changes to David. When he saw the old woman, he called her mama and tried to convince her that it was David, so she told him that her son died 25 years ago. He told her about the nail that you put in your pocket to protect you from any evil, and the woman was shocked and actually took out a nail from her pocket. The woman started crying and suddenly slapped him in the face and said that she could not continue. Caroline does not understand what happened, so she decides to take him to the place where David died 25 years ago. He tells her that the place has changed from before, and he remembers the past before he died, and suddenly he becomes afraid and tells her that he is here. He asked her to leave quickly because he was getting close to them. She tried to find out from him who was approaching them, and the devil told her. She tried for them to leave, but she found that the chair was not moving, so she told him that she would call for help. She moves away from him to pick up a net and make a call, and when she finishes and looks behind her, she does not find him on the chair, but finds him standing behind her, so she says to him, "You are Adam, aren't you?" He asks her, "Who are you and how did I come here?" She told him, "I am a doctor and I treat Adam." She asked him, "Who are you?" He said to her, "I am Jez." We are surprised by a third and new personality. Caroline was shocked and went to her father and asked him if she knew Wig's personality. He told her, "Yes, I left you to discover everything on your own." So she leaves him and goes to Wig's cemetery and knows that he was a singer in his band and that he died in 1994. And he almost killed himself. At that time, Adam was in prison. The next day, she goes in and talks to Wiggs and tells him to watch old news talking about his death. When he sees it, he is shocked, but suddenly he remembers the day of his death and screams at Caroline and tells her, "That's enough." He transforms into David's character, falls to the ground, and sings a strange song. When David's mother asked about this song, she told her that David composed it a long time ago and used to sing it when he was afraid. So she decides to go to Adam's house to find out something new. There she finds nothing but a dog and smells a bad smell. She follows the smell until she discovers a person who has been dead for a while. She informs the police and the officer says that he suspects that Adam was the one who killed that man, so she says that she must leave because she was late for her daughter. When she arrives at her daughter's school, she finds her standing with Adam, so she calls the officer and tells him that Adam is here and standing with her daughter. She quickly runs towards her and asks him to stay away from her. She returned home quickly and was telling her daughter something about satanic rituals. She told her that these words were not true, and she was surprised that there was a mark on her daughter's back. When she asked her about it, she said, "I don't know." She calls her father and talks to him and learns that Charlie died in a strange way. At night, she opens a video of Adam sleeping and notices a black man approaching him, and suddenly he wakes up from his sleep. The next day, the officer interrogates Adam, but he denies that he killed the man they found in his house, and when they showed him pictures of the murdered man, he told him that he did not remember anything. He had marks on his back, and he became angry at the officer. "I told you that I didn't know anything." Caroline told the officer that she saw that mark in the same city where David lived. She goes to the old woman and asks her about that sign, and she tells her that it is a sign of black magic, and she introduced her to a place where there is great evil, and asked her to ask there about the grandmother. When Caroline went to that place, she found it very scary. She asked her grandmother about the mark, and she told her that it was not a cross. She said that she had stronger eyes than hers, even though she was blind. Caroline sat in her car and wanted to know what was happening. At that time, her brother was able to recognize the sound of him while he was sleeping, and it was very scary. Caroline hears a very scary sound and follows the sound until she sees them performing a strange ritual on an old man. After they finished, Caroline was surprised because the grandmother knew that she was standing and watching them. She tells her that this mark is engraved in the mountain, and any place where it is found means that this is a place where souls gather. She finds 2 mail messages on her mobile phone, one from the officer telling her that he released Adam because there is nothing against him, and the second from her brother, making her hear the frightening sound. She hears the same incantation that the grandmother used to say. At that time, her daughter found something strange on her back, and Caroline went to an old man from whom she knew the story of the people on the hill. Because he knows a lot of information about them, he told her that in 1918, a virus spread among the people, and they turned to a person named Christian to treat them, and he did treat them, but with strange rituals. People were convinced that medicine was of no use, but because of his mistakes, people decided to take revenge on him. They took him to the grandmother and put that mark on his back, and the grandmother performed a strange ritual with him. She asked him to seduce all the people whose faith is weak, and the officer called Caroline and told him that the man they found killed in Adam's house was the same Adam. So she called her father and asked him where Adam was, and he said he was in his room, so she told him that the real Adam was already dead and that he should leave. When she looks behind her, she sees the face of Christian, who deceived people in the past, and it appears that he is the same person as Adam, David, and the rest of the characters, and she understands that the grandmother performed black magic on him. She made him kill everyone whose faith was weak, and so he always asked them about their faith, while her father looked behind her to see Crétine standing behind him. Caroline calls hospital security and asks him to go check on her father. The man goes and finds him dead on the floor in a strange way. Caroline cries when she knows this and calls her brother to tell him, but her daughter answers and hears her coughing. Her brother tells her that she will go to the hospital because of her back, so Caroline is shocked and says that the hospital will not be able to do anything with her. But he takes her to the hospital and finds Christian getting out of his father's car and talking to him as if he were his father, so he ran away from him and hid in the house, but he chased them until he entered the house. But the girl calls Caroline and asks her to talk to Christian and asks to talk to David, so he turns into David and falls to the ground, and this is normal because he cannot move. When her brother woke up, he took her and ran away quickly. We see David rising from the ground, but we do not know his transformation into any personality. Then they arrived at Caroline's and she took them to Grandma's place. She and her daughter went to the grandmother and asked her to help her daughter quickly. The mark had appeared all over his back. The grandmother was asking the girl about her belief in God, but the girl said no after her father's death. The grandmother said that she would not be able to help her and that she must believe in God in order to be able to help her. Suddenly, Christian enters, takes the girl, runs away, and finds her brother dead on the ground, but Christian chases them into the forest, hits Caroline, and then kills the girl in the forest. When Caroline gets over, she finds that Christian has transformed into her daughter's personality, so she is shocked as usual and calls her to make her sleep on her feet and tells her that she believes in God, then she strangles him to kill him, and in fact he dies. She goes to her daughter and carries her while she is sad, but suddenly the girl comes back alive again, and Caroline is very happy, but she thinks that perhaps the devil is back in her body again. Here the movie ends. If you like the movie, hit like and subscribe to the channel to receive all new updates. See you next video.